Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of CookieCast. Today on CookieCast, it's the football podcast, and have we got a guest for you? Yes, we've got a guest for you. Was that a question? Anyway, we've got a guest. So we're going to talk football, but with a guest. So yeah, you might recognise the guest. You know, that's if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, do subscribe. Do click for notifications. Leave us a comment. Let us know how you're getting on. Why not? You can do all of those things, just like you can do all of those things on audio platforms. SoundCloud, iTunes, the works. Subscribe. It's the right thing to do. So here we go. This is CookieCast, the Riverside Roundup. Well, for the YouTube watchers out there and for the Twitter pollers, we can see that the Twitter massive have got their way, and new absolutely cemented in new host Stuart Woodmansey's here, but unfortunately, some might say for Paul. The job of introduction always seems to fall to him until we can get the soundboard rigged up. So, speaking of Paul, hit us with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome along to another enthralling week covering the Championship's finest and not so finest teams. And all things football related, really. I'll bring the shirt back in shot again, but it's another enthralling episode of the Riverside Roundup for these boys right here.
It's beautiful. That's absolutely going to be the thumbnail.
Do it.
We'll see what the algorithm decides, whether it's like, yes, that is the thumbnail, or whether it's,
The Tubes does not appreciate your picture on this particular post. Please remove immediately.
Yeah, that's absolutely the other option. The other option is you've had a strike, like a lightning strike. So YouTube watchers will be aware of this. Audio listeners, maybe not so much, other than I have already covered it, but Paul's here to guide us through the murky waters that are known as football, and he's brought along a long-time podcast face and voice, Mr. Stuart Woodmansey.
Hello, hello, hello.
Good evening to you, sir, and welcome back. Welcome back. I did.
Backed by overwhelming popular demand, mate.
That is absolutely true. My inbox, the podcast inbox was awash with. I don't want to use the word demands because that makes it sound aggressive. But yeah, aggressive demands for the return of.
You got the messages from like Sarah and like McGran and stuff like that, then yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe your gran should probably not sign the email Stu's gran, but I appreciated it anyway. It was a nice read. It was beautifully well written. Let's put it that way. So, as we like to do each and every week, we get involved. We get stuck in. I defer to Paul to tell you lovely people what's been happening in a section or segment that we like to call This Week in Football. Paul, what's been going down this week in football?
Well, main thing for me, just from personal sort of personal stance would be the decision that's been taken slightly lower down the football pyramid to curtail or just void the season. So obviously you've got your Premier League, you've got your EFL, which consists of the Championship, League 1 and League 2. You then drop to non-league, which is the National League, which a team very dear to my heart and Hartlepool United are situated. And then below the National League, you have the National League North, the National League South, and then from there, it just descends into a bit of chaos, really, with all your regional Northern Leagues, Southern Leagues, Isthmian Leagues, and so on and so forth. And in the last week, the teams in what's effectively known as Step 6 downwards, have taken the decision that they no longer want to play the league season. So any team from the National League North and South down have officially stopped playing.
Yeah.
So they
Why
took
not?
it to a vote. So all the teams took it to a vote. I think the idea was that the lower down the leagues you go, the less opportunity there is there to achieve accurate or adequate social distancing. So for teams that are in makeshift changing rooms, there's not enough there for them to adequately space themselves out to get ready for the games. There's not enough infrastructure there for the teams to supply the necessary means to put on a game. This is all predicated off the fact that the National League came out with a statement that said that teams will be able to apply for loans, not grants, to help them through the current situation. So, whereas with any of the teams that are maybe struggling in the Football League, they might get a booster loan from the Football Association or the Players Association, places like that, to keep going. What the National League said was that if it was a team that was struggling, they could apply for assistance, but that assistance will be supplied in the form of a loan rather than a grant. So, yeah, we'll help you to keep going, but we want that money back. And let's be honest, with it being a loan, we'll probably charge you interest at the same time. So, I think the teams are like, well, you're not letting us have fans in, which would pay for us to put on stuff to a sufficient level where we could actually provide the service of the level that we're playing at. So because we haven't got the fans coming in, we can, in good conscience, sort of continue to offer that level of service. So they've just voted in the majority that they want to end the season early and just write it off. So they're happy to wait until this is all officially over. And I suppose the hope is that when we get to the point where teams can allow fans back into the stadium, that they'll have the ability to have fans back in, pay gate receipts that will then be trickled down to pay players, staff, overhead costs, things like that. So it's yeah, not great, and it makes you sort of think that if the Premier League's able to sort of carry on with the amount of money that's being pumped into the Premier League, surely there's some way that they could figure out a way to filter some of that money down to the teams that really, really need it, to allow them to keep playing. Because there's certain teams that are in positions such as, I think it's a team called Dorking Wanderers, atop of the National League South as it currently stands, and had a very, very good shot of getting promoted to the National League, which for a team like them that's semi-professional comes with a huge bump in revenue and stuff like that. So they're obviously not happy that they're having to essentially void the season where they were doing particularly well, and they've lost their chance to get up to another league where they can make more money. So by the sounds of it, it's a decision that's been taken in the majority, but but there are teams that are still there are teams that are still pushing for the season to continue. So there is an argument out there that they want to get all the teams from the National League North and the National League South that said, yes, we're happy to continue playing, and amalgamate the two divisions. Now, the whole point of it being regionalised is that the teams that are around each other, they have to travel less, therefore they keep the costs down. So obviously that then brings in another argument for, well, yeah, you can keep the season going, but you're potentially going to have more costs because you're going to have travel to further away places. You're going to have overnight stays if you want to do that.
I mean, and also that that travel's been definitely allowed as normal for the last year, hasn't it? Like,
well, this is
the bit that I'd read about it said that the teams of the teams that had voted, it's over 75% of them had gone for it. And the main reason was the gate receipts, because it was the fact that they weren't getting the money in, like you mentioned. So I didn't realise that last year it was curtailed so quickly in comparison, if that makes sense, because they stopped it in March, which was when obviously everything kind of stopped. But like other sports were like, I don't know, they seem to take a bit longer to decide about it, whereas obviously they kind of got on board with it fairly quickly. And I suppose this time around they kind of know what's coming a bit more. So the fact that they've done it now, it
does just keep coming back to this as a sport that is seen worldwide as being such crazy, insane amounts of money being thrown around. You've got players that are worth hundreds of millions, and all of this, clubs that are worth probably bordering on like billions and stuff. That these massive teams, and like especially like the Premier League and stuff, can't come together and say, look, here are a list of teams that are really struggling. Can we not do something to bump some money down, even if it's just to keep the doors open, keep the games going? Because at the end of the day, we're all playing the same game, even if it's at different levels. It's just really sad to see.
It is, and I mean, I suppose the hope would be that there'll be some players who play in the Premier League who it'll affect more than others. So, off the top of my head, probably the most prominent one that a lot of people will know will be Jamie Vardy. So obviously, everyone knows Jamie Vardy came from a non-league start. So I think he was rejected by I can't remember which of the Sheffield clubs is at academy when he was a kid. Probably Sheffield Wednesday, I think it was. Didn't get into Sheffield Wednesday's academy when he was younger. So obviously left football, went into a different profession, but kept playing football as a sort of a semi-pro, amateur sort of stop laughing you. Kept playing as a semi-pro, amateur level. Obviously worked his way back up to a point where he was playing with Fleetwood Town in what is now the National League. Was then bought by Leicester. At the time, I think they paid £1 million for him. It was the first time a player from the non-league had been signed for £1 million. And obviously, he's gone on to achieve like way above the level that anyone ever thought he would reach. He's won the Premier League. He's played at international tournaments for England. He's scored at international tournaments for England. So you'd imagine that a player like him that's had to go through the non-league system would probably be well up for some sort of secure package or like rescue package to be sent down to the teams at that particular level. But unfortunately, the Jamie Vardys of the world, as it were, are very few and far between. So the players that are in the Premier League are all players that have either come through that particular team's academy or they've come from a team further down the footballing ladder that were never at a non-league stage, their particular youth programme. And it just sort of falls through the cracks. Obviously, like, to me, it matters a little bit more because I've got a bit of a vested interest with Hartlepool being at a non-league level. And as I said, at the moment, they're still playing. So their season's carrying on, and hopefully they'll be able to finish the season out and get to a point where they can get back into the Football League and then it won't be an issue. But yeah, just sad, really.
Yeah, like I say, it's where's the solidarity, I guess, is the question there. And I don't want to be that guy who's just a dick about footballers getting paid insane salaries, but there's probably a handful of footballers, individual people who could probably keep those entire leagues going with a fraction of their wages. So it is a bit like, come on lads, let's do the right thing rather than not. But
yeah, I'm sure there was I'll have to look into this more, but there was something around 13, 14 years ago where all of the Premier League teams were invited to donate a day's wages to, I think it was either NHS workers or a similar noble cause. And apparently all the Premier League teams agreed to it, except one, which was Middlesbrough. And the reason Middlesbrough didn't agree to it is because they gave a week's wages to the cause. So they obviously got together, and obviously either the captain or the manager, which at the time was Gareth Southgate, I think had said, there's this initiative that the Premier League are putting out, which we think is really good. We've looked at the finances, and we think there's a way that we can cover it where we garnish a week's wages from all the first team, rather than just a day. And with the greatest respect, lads, we think you can cover that and stuff like that. And then it ended up going to charity, the NHS, whatever it was that it went to. And something like that would definitely help. And like I say, even if it is just a day's wages for the majority of the Premier League clubs, it'd certainly help. And the players wouldn't even notice it. But and then again, that opens up the argument of, is it players' responsibility to step in and help out when certain teams, clubs, whatever is in need and stuff like that? And that is a fair point, but you'd have thought at some point someone would be able to sort of even just suggest it, and then if it gets shot down, fair enough. At least it was discussed. But to just sit back and not do anything just seems a bit.
I think that tells you more about
pointless.
them. It's nobody seems to want to be that first person to suggest it on the basis of that everybody else looks like it.
I suppose to sort of to borrow the wrestling idea, it's the union talk in wrestling, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's for all the wrestlers, it'd be a great thing, but no one's willing to speak up about it because they don't want to be ostracised or they don't want to lose their job as being the person who mentions it. So, who knows?
Oh dear, sad times. Anything else that would majorly be standing out from the last week?
We had Neil Lennon resigned, didn't we, today in Scotland. Celtic manager's left his position. But for the first time in a lot of years, Rangers are 7 points away currently from taking the Scottish title.
Yeah.
Celtic probably aren't going to catch them. And at least as all the press would have you believe, Celtic had a lovely time in Dubai out of that, slightly earlier this season. And the pictures I saw today, not only were him shouting at players, which is obviously what every football manager does anyway, so that doesn't really matter. But then the next one was to sum up Neil Lennon's Celtic career was him on a sunbed with a pint next to Scott Brown, which. Yeah, I think they've done him a bit dirty with that one because he's been there. I mean, Paul might correct me if I'm wrong, but he's been there twice now, and the first time around he got embroiled in a bit of a religion argument. That tends to be the way with
sectarianism and stuff like that.
Yeah,
that was very much a part of the thing. He was one of the people who certain elements of it. They know how to take it to the next level when you're receiving in a bullet inside an envelope hand posted through the door with no address on it.
Yeah. So he endured all that the first time around, then came back, and then now, he's left his position. So that's kind of the big news from Scotland.
So, like Stu said there as well, Rangers only need another 7 points to win the title. So obviously they can cover that in the next 3 games. So if they win the next 2 games, the third game out of that sequence is against Celtic at Parkhead. So in theory, if they win the next 2 games, depending on, obviously Celtic can absolutely fuck it up for them anyway by losing the next 2 games. But let's say that both Rangers and Celtic win the next 2 games. Rangers will need a draw against Celtic at Celtic's home to stop them from winning 10 league titles in a row. Also, their social media was obviously on the ball and tweeted out this earlier today.
Oh man, that is excellent.
Stiff shot, so to speak. There you go.
I suppose for the people that are listening along, rather than the YouTube watchers, that was Rangers tweeting out the regret that the Celtic manager has been fired. Has left his position. Wow.
Oh, brutal.
I mean,
brutal.
It's absolutely top level banter though, but it is like you said, it is very very much shots fired. Probably shouldn't say that we just discussed the envelope issue, but you know.
Anything else?
I think of much else that's happened this week.
No, it's been a bit of a quiet week. Obviously, we've got European football ongoing as we speak. So, looking like the majority of the English clubs were in a pretty handsome position from what I've seen. So, looking like all the English clubs / British clubs will get through to the next stage of European competition. Obviously, as at time of recording, if I do that with my hand, it'll make it a little less obvious when we're recording the podcast. But obviously, we've got second round of Champions League tonight, as this makes obvious, and then we've got the Europa League tomorrow. Oh, the Europa League!
I always think when I see that in the corner, I always think that Paul's trying to let people know that he hasn't been kidnapped. Or the opposite.
Oh
maybe he's like.
Can you imagine if Stu could do that as code with his nameplates and side plates of all the different belts that he's got? That'd be amazing.
I'm in Andy's basement. Please send beer.
There has been a Europa League game tonight though, because Spurs won 4-0, didn't they?
So it took me a while to work that out. Why? Actually, no. It didn't take me a while to work out why. I was going to say it's because they can't have 2 games in London on the same night, but Arsenal aren't playing in London. Yeah, there's a point we'll bring up on the podcast. So, last week, Arsenal played Benfica in the first round of the round of 32, or was it round of 16 for the
32? 32.
Round of 32. So, playing in the round of 32 in the Europa League, and the game took place. So, bear in mind that is Arsenal of England playing, Benfica of Portugal, and so again, that's Benfica of Portugal and Arsenal of England, and the game took place in Rome.
Obviously. Why not?
Yeah, obviously it's because of travel restrictions on certain countries and stuff like that. So I think it's Germany have travel restrictions. So any German teams can't play in Germany.
Yeah. So tonight that Mönchengladbach are playing Man City, and that's not in Germany, obviously, either.
Yeah. So I don't know if that means that when the second leg of that game takes place, I don't know if that will be in Manchester. Because of the travel restrictions. But let's see, tonight, was it actually at Spurs? Let's have a look.
I mean, the sarcastic element of me wants to say, is that because of COVID or Brexit? But, that's an entirely different podcast.
So as Stu pointed out there, Tottenham played tonight, and I was under the assumption that it was because you couldn't have two games on the same night in London, because what they've done before is if Spurs and Arsenal were drawn at home on the same game day, what they would do is they would stagger the kick-off time. So one would kick off at 5:55 and the other one would kick off at 8. But obviously they're not doing that anymore. But yeah, Spurs versus AZ Pelletswak, according to Sky Sports Score Centre, incredibly blurry, took place at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. So, not entirely sure why that one was allowed to take place. But Arsenal versus Benfica, again, Arsenal of England versus Benfica of Portugal, will take place in the Georgios, oh my good God, Karistakis Stadium in Greece, I believe, or Cyprus. But yeah, it's just causing havoc with the internationals. That'll be European games as well. So.
Sounds very complicated.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't want to have to sort it out, let's put it that way. So, here's the thing, right? What we like to do each and every week is we like to talk about Middlesbrough football, Brentford football, Wycombe Wanderers, Bristol City's bringing up the rear. Mostly Middlesbrough, but I don't know. I think if we look back at this point, there are some teams that are trying to outdo the Middlesbrough in the Middlesbrough podcast. We like to predict football games. Well, some of us do, and the rest of us like to write numbers down and then laugh heartily a week later when we correctly predict the score the wrong way around, and things like that. Paul, speaking of, and the reason that the internet the internet brought Stuart back will become clear very shortly. But before that, let's talk Reading versus Middlesbrough. I'm not going to lie. Nobody of the three of us, nobody had any faith in Middlesbrough. Nobody, not even Middlesbrough's own son.
Stuart Woodmansey.
Absolutely. Paul, what was the score in the Reading Middlesbrough game?
So this is the game that was described by the manager Neil Warnock as a complete performance in a incredible coupon busting, some might say, Reading 0, Middlesbrough 2 victory.
Yes, sirree, Bob. So, here's the thing. Paul was out of the running straight off the bat because he did go for a 2-0. Just went with the wrong team. I can't talk because I went with a 2-1 for the wrong team. Stu edged his bets, didn't he? Little one apiece. However, that could all change when Paul tells us who scored the 2 Middlesbrough goals.
So, eagle-eyed or eagle-eared fans of last week's podcast will know that the 2 Middlesbrough goals in a 2-1 win against Huddersfield were scored by Duncan Watmore and Ashley Fletcher in his first start since September, maybe? He'd been out for a long time. Ashley Fletcher kept that run going by scoring in consecutive games. Good old Ashley. We'll come to him later on. And the second goal was scored by a name that's probably not come up on the podcast yet, Mark Bowler. Stonker.
So,
Absolute perler from the edge of the box, straight in the top corner.
So, correctly pointed out, there was a goal from Fletcher. And I'll tell you one man who saw that goal coming from a mile off, and that is Stuart Woodmansey. So, there were no points to be had from the predicting side of the score aspect, but points were clawed back for correctly predicting one of the goal scorers. So, Stu's on a roll, some would say. Bristol City versus Barnsley could change that. What was the score in this game?
I believe it was 0-1.
It was. So.
Hey, but that's good though. That's good though, because that means that Bristol City lost their 7th game in a row. So that must bring us forward to some lovely stuff for the Borough game when we come to that in a minute.
So let's paint a picture. Paul, you didn't see any goals happening in this game. 0-0.
There might have been a reason behind that, Andrew. The reason that might have been because I couldn't be bothered to look at the goal scorers.
That's the way I normally do it.
Predict who was going to score for either team.
That's the way I do it.
And you know what? Up until about the 80th minute, I was getting away with that scot-free.
Yeah. So I decided to go with the absolute opposite by going 1-0 to Bristol City. Now then, Stu, on the other hand, Stu went with a 0-1. Bagging himself 2 beautiful points. Paul, who scored the goal for Barnsley?
I'll tell you now, it was a guy called Carlton Morris. If anyone picked him, I'll give them the money myself.
Then you need to give Stu £41.
Yeah!
£41 you need to give Stu. You heard it here first, people.
Carlton Morris.
Morris to score. So 2 points for a correct prediction and 1 point for...
Not that I've not tidied up in here since last week, but the ones I wrote down, Paul, are there second line.
Oh my God! What an absolute nightmare! Oh God! And 41 quid out of pocket. Oh God! Nightmare. Oh, he didn't even start the game.
I don't pick the team, Paul. I just pick the scorers.
How was he pulled that one out of his arsehole? Jesus Christ. Well played, that man. Oh God, I've had one of them. I've had one of them where you've absolutely nailed the predictions. It was a 1-1 back earlier in the season. You probably listened to the podcast, as is everyone else listening right now. God, what a time to be alive.
You wanna keep that powder dry, Mr. Williams, because we've got a lot more games to talk about yet.
We have got a few more games to cover.
Anybody that's keeping track at this point, we like to do like 2 games and 2 games, kind of a running total, get an idea of like overall, all that sort of stuff. Paul's on 0 points for the week so far. I think that's the main thing we need to focus on. We could also mention that I'm on 0 points. If that's a thing, if that needs to be spoken, if it needs to be uttered, fine. Obviously, Stu's got the 4 points for the week so far. I think maybe he's sort of like swept up everyone else's points. So yeah. Just hoovered them up. Just hoovered up those points. We've got 2 more games to talk about. Stu might be able to tell us whether we're anywhere near needing to take a break, though.
No, we should be good.
I've not got any warnings, so looks like we're good.
Oh, I had a warning.
Did you?
I did.
No, I think it was the has no time limit warning thing.
I don't know, because not only did I have a warning, it told me at the start, like not long after starting, that we were on a 40-minute jobby. But okay,
no.
Let's keep this ball rolling. See what I did there? This ball. See. Middlesbrough, Bristol City. I don't know which aspect. I mean, let's do it like pulling a plaster off, Paul. Come on.
If you want to, just talk about the second half. It's fine.
Well, we could talk about it in the second half, or we could discuss the fact that apparently, I actually heard it with my own 2 ears. So in the post-match press conference, we'll just go through it. So as discussed earlier, Bristol City against Barnsley at the weekend. The 0-1 was their 7th loss in a row. Just count that. That is 7 times. So 7 games in a row they had been defeated by the other team. I think in those entire 7 games they'd scored 4 goals as well. Within 30 minutes at the Riverside, they were 3-0 up. That is the very epitome of a... Probably shouldn't swear, should I? Very bad performance.
I mean, they weren't giving up their wages, but the Borough team were all about the charity, weren't they, at the weekend?
Christ, it was so bad. So bad. So, whereas Saturday had been described as a complete performance, this was a completely shocking performance. Yeah, so poor. Probably hammered home most. So they lost the game 3-1. Probably hammered home the most by the fact that 2 of the goals were scored by a player who was linked to Middlesbrough at the closing of the transfer window in January. That was Famara Diédhiou. So he got 2 of the 3. The third goal was scored by Naki Wells on a breakaway, where he was literally the only player in the pitch, or in that section of the pitch that was breaking with the ball. Johnny Howson was tracking him to try and sort of close him down and get the ball back off him, and couldn't bring him down, otherwise it would have been a red card. And then the goalkeeper, the goalkeeper would normally on a one-on-one try and come down and close the angle. No, we won't do any of that. We'll just sort of stay back, perfectly on the line, maybe come out to the 6-yard box and sort of just go, oh, he scored, never mind. Poor across the board. So poor, in fact, that in the post-match conference, Neil Warnock described it as was talking about how on Saturday the front line did really well. It was probably one of the most complete performances he'd seen from them. They may as well have not been on the pitch in the first half. Quote. Pretty shocking. Really, really bad. He was like, even apparently as part of his half-time team talk, he just said, "You've let me down. So just go out there and win the second half. That's all you can do at this particular point." Because if you're 3-0 down at half-time, yeah, fair enough, you can score 3 goals and a half, but 99 times out of 100, the game's gone. You're not getting anything out of that game. If you're 3-0 down at half-time, it's damage control at that point. You're basically just trying to just do not let them score again. Don't matter if you score. If you can get one as a consolation, brilliant. But after that, it's absolutely, don't care what you have to do, lads. They do not score again. And that's basically what ended up happening. Borough did get a consolation goal back in the end. And it was a first ever Middlesbrough strike for Dale Fry. But yeah, possibly the worst Borough performance of the season. And there've been a couple of bad ones.
So, hands up if you put Middlesbrough to lose this game.
Oh no way, no.
Hands up if you put Middlesbrough to win this game. For you audio listeners.
For those listening, that's 3 hands up.
Everybody's got their hands up right now. Couple of the gentlemen here went with 2-0s, and myself was like, let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Let's go with a 1-0. So, 5 opportunities to claw back 1 point. Because obviously we didn't get any of the 3 people that scored for Bristol City. But as I'm sure you'll have guessed when Paul said, for the wrestling fans out there, first time ever, yeah, nobody's picking Fry from Futurama, are they?
I feel like that might feature a lot more.
Fry popping up from the back, nice.
So yeah, get your locks ready because it's bagels for tea there. Fret not, because from a points perspective, it's another opportunity to claw some points back. As we started recording, we were still waiting for this game to finish, and I said, before pressing the record button, well, I know one man who is hoping that it's not going to change. So let's find out which man that was. AFC Bournemouth versus Cardiff City. So, straight away, out of the gate, what was the score?
The score, Andrew, finished Bournemouth 1, Cardiff City 2.
Some people might be happy with the score of a 1-2. Just saying that now. Who scored the collective 3 goals?
Stuart will be happy because there's some Hull alumni involvement in there.
Yeah, why would I be happy about that? He should have scored extra when he was with our team.
Granted, he wasn't there that long in the end, was he? Was it like 6 months or something?
He wasn't there that long.
No, I didn't even think about it. But yes, absolutely. He wasn't there that Shane long with the Bournemouth goal. 2 goals for Cardiff. Where I'd have to look at this, but I believe in back-to-back games, Sean Morrison and Kiefer Moore scored. Because I believe they scored their goals on Saturday. Let me double check.
Whilst
no, I'm talking absolute shit.
Whilst I was going to say, whilst you're checking that, I can let you know why that's important. Why it's important is of the 3 predictions, 2 people went with the same prediction, and that prediction was absolutely incorrect. Myself and Stu, not only with the same prediction, same goal scorer. We went with a 1-0 for Bournemouth. Same... No, I'm lying. Wasn't the same goal scorer at all. They just look very similar. It doesn't matter. Didn't get it right. Paul, on the other hand... Yes, indeedy, sir. It's a 1-2. So that's 2 points there, and he went for Moore to score both goals. So that's another point, bringing the points in that game to 3 points. Obviously, what that means is Stu rocking a mighty 4 points for the start of the week. Second half of the week, no points. Likewise, other way around, Paul rocking no points to start the week brings it back with 3 points right at the end. It's like crossing the line, second place. Because yes, unfortunately, four is the winning score for this batch of games. So congratulations, Stu. Well done to you. Seeing as you're here, though, might as well make good use of you and get some more predictions. So
I'm afraid I should quit while I'm ahead, really, shouldn't I? That's the
house always wins, Stu.
That is the state.
The house always wins. So, the way we like to do it is we don't have a crystal ball. We don't have crystal balls. But what we do have is the opportunity to look forward into the future and use data, information, algorithms to put together possible scores for the future. We take teams that are going to play Middlesbrough down the line and look at what they're doing right now. So what that brings us to is first game of the week is a Middlesbrough game, and it's Middlesbrough versus Cardiff City. Now we get to play a double game at this point in time because I get my book ready. I do all the work, do my homework, get my book ready, and I write down names in the book of people that I have found on the internet. Those people don't always play for the teams in question. So the second game we get to play here is, did Andy find a person that plays for that team currently, or are they out on loan? Is the common one. As is the way, I've written down 4 scores. Paul likes to mix it up by sometimes going first, sometimes offering it over to the guest host. But let's find out the way it's going to go. Who wants to give me a Middlesbrough versus Cardiff City?
As we did in the last time, I'll give Stu the opportunity to decide whether he wants to go first or second.
I've got them written down. It worked for me last time.
Go on.
So let's go straight in with it. So, Paul, close your ears. I have gone with Middlesbrough 1, Cardiff City 2.
Oof.
Bloody hell, you've given Borough a goal. I haven't been that generous.
You're in the virtual room, Paul, so you know, old school rules here. So I've gone Fletcher again for Borough. Go on.
Went off injured.
He'll be
Went
back.
off injured against Bristol City, so
He'll be
touch and
back.
go whether he's going to play or not.
He'll be back. It's fine.
And I've gone for Moore and Wilson for Cardiff.
Is that because he's ex-Hull?
You know the
It's
rules.
because he's ex-Hull.
You know the rules. Okay.
True.
So
You've already proved that theory works by telling me Shane Long scored tonight. So you know.
yeah, you see,
It's a good point. Good point, 1 minute.
tactics. Paul, what are your thoughts on this game?
So as discussed, I think Stu's been overly generous there in giving us a goal. The only thing that makes me think, in the entire time that Warnock's been the manager, which is now just over a year, just over a year, because of the lockdown, doesn't tend to get bad results that often back to back, and it's against the team that he used to manage. So that's the only thing that's making me think. Now I'll stick with my guns. I'll go with a 0-1. I'll go 1-0 Cardiff.
Okay, goal scorer.
Moore, because we tried to sign him in the summer. So.
Okay, I've gone completely the other way on this one. I looked at last game and I was like, there's absolutely no way a spanking like that's going to go unanswered. So I've put my faith in the Borough boys. I've gone 2-0. Fletcher and Watmore to score 1 apiece.
Again, Fletcher might not play. You've both backed him.
Yeah, he'll be fine. So that brings us to a prediction game. Some would say that it might be possibly a prediction game. Blackburn Rovers versus Coventry City. The Coventry City is the factor in this game. I've got some stuff written down here for myself, but which of you gentlemen would like to go first?
Again, I'll defer to Stu.
Go, Stu.
Right. Okay, so I've gone for Blackburn Rovers 1, Coventry City 0. And
Okay.
Blackburn Rovers to hit the back of the onion sack, Bradley Dack.
Oh, lovely wordplay. Lovely.
I love it. Paul.
Unsurprisingly, I have also gone for Blackburn Rovers 1, Coventry 0.
Goal scorer.
I would like to go for Adam Armstrong.
Okay, I see what you've both done there. I like it. I've gone absolutely the other way. 0-2.
Oh!
Yeah. Because, you know,
He's only 8 points.
that's how I roll. I also did a little bit of looking back at Coventry's recent games, and I like what I'm seeing. Godden and Walker to score.
Excellent. And what was your Middlesbrough Cardiff prediction?
Middlesbrough Cardiff was 2-0.
2-0. This guy. Wow! Oh my. We'll do Andy's bet first.
I bet we will.
So Middlesbrough 2, Cardiff 0 is 10-1. Blackburn Rovers 0, Coventry City 2 is 16-1. Giving Andrew Cook a double of 186-1.
I'll tell you this much. I'll be laughing when I'm like, yeah, cash that puppy out and let's get down the...
Let's get down the end of the garden.
Supermarket.
For my Middlesbrough 0, Cardiff 1 at 13-2 and Blackburn 1, Coventry 0 at 6-1 gives me a double of 51.5-1.
Respectable.
Stu's Middlesbrough 1, Cardiff 2 at 9-1 and Blackburn 1, Coventry 0 at 6-1 gives him a double of 69 to 1.
Love it. That's the one. I reckon that's a good one there.
I mean, I'd absolutely love to say I did that on purpose for you there, Paul, but...
But wait. There's more.
Sadly, as I've already looked, and no bets, no odds in place for next week, so this will just be straightforward picks.
So, as we gather the format now, I probably don't need to go through it again. No surprises here. It's Coventry City versus Middlesbrough. I presume, Stu, you're off at first at bat. So, what you got for me?
Well, I mean, I'm sticking to what I know with the goal scorer. So I've gone Fletcher again. I'll just keep banging on that door. But he will get the only goal of the game. I've written down.
Really, 0-1. I like it. Paul.
Are we we good enough to beat Coventry? Oh, God, I don't even know anymore.
That should be the tagline for the whole Riverside Roundup.
That's what they do to me. God, it's so annoying. They build my hopes up by not doing shit against a team I think they're going to do shit against, and then doing shit against a team I think they're going to do well against. It's terrible.
It's pronounced football. That's what happens.
Oh, don't worry. I've been parading around this merry dance for a number of years now, Stuart. Don't worry. Oh Christ. Stick me down for. I'll be optimistic. I'll go 0-1.
Goal scorer.
I'll go Morsey. I think he has to score. He has to score sometime.
Okay, now what I've done is I've edged my bets basically. I've gone one apiece. I've reused my selection from a previous game by going Walker, and I know there's a lot of these new names are coming out with the Borough, but I've brought up an old boy from back in the day, a firm podcast favourite. It's absolutely going to be Chubber, isn't it? No?
Came on when Fletcher was injured and basically just got slated by Warnock or something yesterday. So his days are probably numbered.
He's going to bring it back, I'm telling you.
I hope he does, because at the end of the season he's potentially our only striker. So
we're going to wrap things up here, talking about Swansea City versus Bristol City, the Battle of the Cities. Get us right off there, Stu, with a prediction.
An absolutely thumping 1-1 draw.
Absolutely thumping 1-1.
And purely because when I was looking at the list and I actually recognised the names for one, that helped. But secondly, saying them together, are you Wells?
Oh.
Are you
atrociously bad?
Are you for Swansea and Wells for Bristol?
Whoa, hang on a second. Whoa.
This is where he tells me one of them's got the COVID and is now not playing for the next.
Whoa. So we did. Hang on. We did Borough Cardiff.
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'm well confused.
It'll be me that's got it wrong.
Borough Cardiff and Blackburn Coventry.
Yeah.
The Wednesday game is. So we did a Coventry game because Borough are playing Coventry on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And then the following Saturday, Borough play Swansea.
Yeah.
But on the Wednesday,
no,
it's Stoke versus Swansea.
Damn it.
Swansea versus Bristol City is on the Saturday.
No.
God.
He's done it wrong. How do I make this work?
Give that a little scratchy and just re-put in Stoke Swansea City.
You know full well now that game is finishing exactly 1-1 with those.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely. So what you need to do, Stu, is get your Sky bet open and get every single penny from that Rob Gronkowski first touchdown scorer on 1-1 with both the goal scorers.
You know, they've absolutely missed a trick with that because it should have paid out £2.47. Think about that. Anyway, moving on.
He's only gone and messed it all up, hasn't he? Right, we're gonna have to go back now. Stu, can you correct my mistake by giving a different prediction?
I am going to go for a 0-1 Swansea. And purely for ease, I will stick with IU for the goal scorer.
That's right, yeah. That's the right answer.
Is it weird that I don't want to change my prediction? I'm going to stick with the exact same score that I was going to go for in the first game.
Which is?
2-2.
A Desmond. Nice.
Desmond indeed.
Goal scorer.
For Stoke, I'll go for another ex-Hull boy, Nick Powell. And then an ex... too many teams to count boy in Stephen Fletcher.
Journeyman, I believe, is the
I believe that's the accepted term, yes. For Swansea, I will go for... I've forgotten his name.
I don't think they'd fit on the back of a shirt, to be honest.
Lowe! That's the guy, Jamal Lowe. And seems though he appears to just be scoring every other game that he's played for him since he signed, Hourahan. And podcast listeners, you may want to commit that name to memory, because when we discuss the Swansea versus Middlesbrough game, I'll definitely be picking him to score, because he was linked to the Borough in the transfer window, so he's obviously going to score.
Okay. Well, obviously, I picked a score from a game that's not taking place. So this is the thing here. Do I go the Paul route, or do I go the Stu route? Do I leave the score? Do I change the score? How about this? I'll leave the score. Oh, I went 0-1. But the way I've got it written in my book would be Stoke 1, Swansea 0.
Do you want to take the risk?
Yeah, I'm throwing caution to the wind. I have to live with my mistakes. You know, me and everyone else I surround myself with. You guys, you have to live with my mistakes now. Book's the wrong way around. I'll be giving the score the wrong way around. You know what it's like for Leanne to have to live with me now. And seeing as he's getting a lot of airplay this evening, I'm going to steal one of Paul's and I'm going to go Fletcher. Because, you know, nice and easy. So, I've absolutely screwed the book, I've screwed the pooch, I've screwed the games, I've screwed the scores. Let's see if I can screw the second to last segment of the podcast as well. Finger click right there. So, something that we've added into this incarnation of the football podcast is something that came from, I believe it came from the radio years and years and years ago. We've stolen the name, so we're probably going to get sued at some point. But hey, let's ride the wave while we can. It's a little section that we call Beat the Jock. Now, in this scenario, Paul is the jock. If you've ever heard a football podcast of any sort, you will know that if there's one man who can tell you where you've picked the game wrong, it's Paul. Stu's also known for loving a little bit of quiz action. So, last week I lowballed it. I realised my mistake by picking the club that was dearest to dearest Paul's heart. This week, it's a similar theme, I'm not going to lie, because I'm still trying to find a baseline. I'm still trying to, I don't want to be like, going crazy insane, how many blades of grass were on the pitch when, I don't want to go that, even though I still think that's probably, lowballing it for some people. But I'm trying to find a baseline. Let's be clear on this. So, very much like last week, it's the same question, different person. Lionel Messi. At time of recording, how many goals and how many games?
I'm going to be bad at this.
Now,
can Paul pick and I just pick higher or lower?
I'm happy with that.
Now, the problem we've got is my phone has done the thing that it always does when I ask one of these questions. It decides to ditch the page I was on that had the answers. So at this point in time, I can tell you how many he scored, but I can't tell you how many games. So write an answer down, think of an answer, and give me one moment, because otherwise...
I'm trying to think how old he is.
Is it this?
No.
What are you thinking, Paul?
Is it this?
Well, I've just written out what I think, and it just seems nonsense. It can't be. It can't be what I've written down.
You're written like 1,000 or something.
I've not gone quite that mental, but
Damn it. Why does it have to be? It's every time. You would think somebody would learn. How many games?
again, it's podcast gold.
Are you talking just for club, or are you talking club and country?
I believe what is given is a total, because the stuff that
career, so this is career stats. Basically.
Yeah, the stuff that I saw broke it down into like things like international goals and stuff like that. There was stuff about how many in like particular games and stuff like that. Is it this one? Is it this one? Is it this one? It's not going to be this one, is it? Why? Right, fuck it. Flip it. At this point in time, we are just right now going with how many goals, because apparently earlier today, when I spent 15 minutes trying to find the answer to this, a definitive answer, it just kept telling me goals, games, goals, games, goals, games. I haven't done anything to the page. Can't find how many games at all. Was it this?
So I have an answer.
Stu, do you have an answer?
Depends on Paul's answer.
Who wants to go first?
Paul.
Well, like I say, if I go first, then Stu's got the option to say higher or lower, I suppose. So do you want me to give my working?
Has he done workings out?
So, there's something in the back of my head that says, since Ronaldo went to Spain, they had like a thing where they basically both scored 50 goals a season or thereabouts ever since then. Now, Ronaldo went to Real Madrid in 2009, I think. So that puts us at least 10 years. So I've worked off if he scored 50 goals a year or 50 goals a season for over 10 seasons, that puts him at least 500 goals. And I'm sure in the back of my head I saw something recently where he'd scored his 600th goal of his career. And I can't remember how long ago that was. So I've gone for 623 goals in 805 games.
Okay. Stu.
I'm going lower than that because I think that's an astronomical amount, and I think Ronaldo outscored him, so I think it is going to be less. So how many games did you say, Paul? 800.
I went for 805. I've no idea how I've got to that 805 figure. But
If purely for a mathematical ease, if rather than him, if he scored what in 2/3 of his games, and I went 750 games, that's less than you still, and then that would work out at 500 goals.
yeah,
So let's go with that because it's nice and easy in round numbers.
Okay. Stu. In a situation like this, what is the one thing you should always, always, always do? Always work on the principle that Paul's either right or is damn near it.
Okay.
So, I'll tell you this much, it's not lower.
Oh, what?
Christ.
I can't find a definitive answer to any of the question. What I can tell you is that I've got two websites here. One is goal.com and one is givemesport.com. I'll give you the two numbers and you can decide between yourselves. They're both not really anywhere near each other, so this is how easy it is to find this information. I can give you a little bit because there's like a little regarded. This is basically it's Messi versus Ronaldo. Regarded as many as the greatest player in history, Lionel Messi is as exceptional at taking chances as he is at creating them. Indeed, to date, the diminutive Argentinian has racked up 742 goals in 946 outings. However, according to GiveMeSport.com, again, this is Ronaldo is involved in this. Two superstars are arguably the two greatest players to have ever played the game, and their goal-scoring ratio throughout their career is just ridiculous. At the time of writing, Messi has scored 711 goals in 884 matches, so there's a possibility that article was just written a while back. To give you to put it into perspective, during his career, and Ronaldo has 748 goals in 1,026 games. That is dated 9th of Jan. Weirdly, the other article is dated the 20th of January.
Well, I've got his. Obviously, now this is Wikipedia, so this is open to debate because it's anyone can amend it, I suppose.
Can I just change it to 750?
So this is quite handy because it breaks it down to his club and then his international appearances or international stats. So apparently he's played 794 games for Barca and he scored 668 goals in those games. That is insane. For Argentina, he's played 165 games and he scored 87 goals. So for Barca, for his international career, he's pathetically poor. He's only got a 1-2 record.
I mean, yeah, that's rubbish.
Got an 8 to score every full time I take the field. So what's that? So 160. So quick maths. So 794 plus 165 is
959.
Yeah, 959 games. 668 plus 87.
755.
Yeah. 755 goals. Mental.
So I should have gone with the goals for the rather than the appearances.
You worked out in games, then just gone goals. So, if you make it even more ridiculous, if you just break down his league stuff for Barca. So, according to just his league stats for Barca, he's played 539 games and he scored 473 goals. On 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 occasions, he scored more than a goal a game in the league. That is outrageous. Oh, sorry, and that includes 22 games for Barcelona C and B. So we could probably make those stats even better if we wanted to. I mean, like, I must admit, on that particular side of the argument, I'd always give the edge to Ronaldo because he tried himself in other leagues. But if Messi's not the best, he's a very, very close 1A.
So yeah, everything I saw said that Ronaldo had scored more goals over more games, which, you know, depends how you look at it there. More opportunity, isn't it?
There's a figure out there that there's the exact same amount of days between Cristiano and Messi as there is between Ronaldo's son and Messi's son. So they were both born the exact same number of days apart. Ooh. So everyone's like now just going, right, get Ronaldo Jr. signed up to a team, get Messi Jr. signed up to a team, and then they're just like, in like 15 years' time, let's have this whole debate again for 20 years.
Yeah. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Those stats are phenomenal. It is why everyone says, rather than having the debate of which one's the better player, just enjoy the fact that we're alive during the time where there's these two incredible footballers on the planet and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think we're still testing the water with this section. The beat the jock. I mean, I think we can still go with undefeated at this point in time. Nobody has beat said jock. I think, you know, because immediately my go-to movie is going to be like, pick the most obscure football stadium or like even like a little league ground.
Who knows?
And go with the number of seats. But there is a probably a better than 50-50 chance that not only will you be able to be like, oh, I'm pretty sure that the exact number of seats is this. Like I say, 50-50 is probably doing no justice there whatsoever. So,
see, at least you've gone with the title of Beat the Jock, because at least when we can all podcast in the same room again, we can physically beat the jock when he gets it right again.
Yeah, because I mean, ultimately, I was never. This will sound weird, but I was never a massive fan of the straight up quiz, because when that bit at the top above the glasses is just like, it's just chock full of football knowledge. Who can really go up against that? So it needed to evolve. So I'm throwing it out to you, the lovely people out there in the world of internets, Twitterers, tweet, Instagrammers, emailers, throw things at the screen that you're watching or listening to right now. I mean, it'll get to us, believe me. Somebody out there has got a question, and it's going to be, one of those where Paul's like, I'm out. And I want you to find it and bring it to me so that I can pretend that I found it and cut you out of the loop completely. I might give you some credit. There'll be, I think we'll get a plaque. We'll send out a plaque that just says, or a T-shirt. Everybody loves a T-shirt. I beat the jock. The last section of the podcast is always me asking you guys, certainly asking Paul if there's any other business to cover.
Good.
Nothing from Stu.
Yeah, like Stu, I've got no other beers. Yes, that's fine.
Nothing from Paul, and no surprises, no shock here that there's nothing else from me. So I'd like to thank our guest host. 2 weeks in, and I don't know, maybe those feet are getting firmly under that table. You tell us. Thank you to our host, who does this week in and week out for your pleasure, and thank you to you for listening or watching along. Until next time, that's us. We're out of here. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So there you go, what do you think of that? Big thank you to Stu, as always, for joining us as our guest host for the week. It's always good to have a guest host, people. It's all good. It's all good. Let us know what you think's going to happen in the games. How about that? You can do that a multitude of ways. You can drop us a comment on YouTube, where you will be a YouTube subscriber, I'm sure. Speaking of subscribing, you can subscribe to the audio platforms, SoundCloud, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Everybody can jump over to thecookiecast.com, check us out over there. We've got links for all sorts of stuff, and you can use them. So, do. So there we go. That's it for this one. Until next time, I'm going to say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye.